All right. Well, I don't like this story because it is recent and it's got me disturbed. Well, I live in Anniston, Alabama right now, but in a neighborhood. But just before moving here, I lived out on the Coosa River between Ragland and Ohatchee, Alabama. It's real pretty out there. And it's very rural on the river. Not much access to our property. It was a private road with a couple houses on it. One night we were hanging out around the cabin, and we had some goats, boy goat and a girl goat, and we heard the girl goat screaming for her life, and my partner, she got her shoes on before I did, and she made it out to the goat pen, and inside the pen our girl goat was laying there like she was dead, but she was still alive. And she had 4 big holes in her abdomen down low near the belly, but the slobber from whatever bit her was over her back, which means that its mouth came down over her back, and the sharp canines or whatever punctured her belly on both sides. The holes in her belly were so big that even after a minute had passed since it had happened, I was able to, I didn't do it, but I could have put my finger easily through one of these holes because it was so big, which means the tooth that made it was gigantic, because skin stretches back after you puncture it. So the original hole must have been enormous, and so that's all terrifying and not so well. But here's the rest of the story. When I built the goat pen, they were able to butt their head against my gate and knock it open. So I had driven a steel post into the ground right in front of the gate so that it could only open inward, and that fixed my headbutting problem. And when I started assessing the situation, that post had been pulled out of the ground and bent in a 90-degree angle, bent almost in half, and then jammed back into the ground a few feet away. Yeah. So we're dealing with something that has hands and can use them well, and this story makes me nervous. I just scratched my hand open because I am disliking telling this, but I'll be okay. It's just a scratch. And more that happened. When Kristen got out to the goat pen, she said that the thing that did it was still in there. She was in there with it, and she assumed it was our black dog, River. And she said she was so mad at River that he was walking kind of slow out the gate, so she went and pushed him, and she said the fur didn't feel like River. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, you can come to the same implications I did. This, whatever it was, had hands, and it knew how to use a gate. It knew how to problem solve the stake in the ground. And it had a little attitude because it bent my stake and then jammed it back in the ground where I would be able to see it. And what else? Oh yeah, it can fit a whole goat in its mouth. Massive teeth. And the slobber that was all over the goat's back dried hard and crunchy. I've never even seen that before, but it was, I mean, if I was gonna say what most people would think it was, they would say a bear. But a bear could have just easily walked through the the thin wire that I was using for the goat pen. We don't have a whole lot of bears in Alabama right now, so it wasn't something I was really worried about. But I don't think it's a bear because it, you know, it did stuff that you do with hands. And I know bears are pretty crafty with their hands, but you can't grab a pole and bend it in half and then stab it back into the ground. That's next level for a bear. I don't know what it was. Sasquatches have been reported in that area quite a bit. The cable man who came to fix our satellite, which had been bent. Oh yeah, there's a good one. Our satellite dish had been bent like a taco. And when I asked the cable service man what happened, he said Sasquatch probably did it, and that it happens pretty often. I swear to God, I do. And but Sasquatch don't have big, long, sharp teeth. Dogman, possibly. That's my guess, if I have to make an educated guess. Because, yeah. Well, there were many terrifying nights around that cabin. There were nights. Kristen she was working as a nurse in Birmingham at night, which is an hour away, and so I would be out at the cabin with our daughter, and there would be some nights that were just terrifying, where the dogs would be faced off against something out in the yard that wasn't backing down, and we had like 6 dogs, so this thing would just stand there in their face, and I could never get a look at it. I had a good flashlight and everything, but it was always just around the corner of the barn, or just back in the woods. You know, they have to trust me on this one. But yeah, wasn't afraid of all those dogs. Whatever it was. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever getting over that, because once you know that these things are happening, what do you do? Yeah. Well, I hope that that wasn't as terrible for you as it was for me. I'm glad to be rid of that story. I hope I never have to tell it again. This maybe that. Yeah, all right. Take care, everybody. Take care.